Welcome to Words Unspoken, the Hills podcast.
We are two Southern sisters rewatching The Hills and chatting about it for your entertainment.
I am Susan, and I'm a 30-something photographer.
I'm Jem, and I wish we still did lower lid eyeliner and polka dot headbands.
Today we're going to be discussing Season 3, Episode 4, Rolling with the Enemy.
And we wanted to quickly say that we know we discuss the lightest possible fare on our show, and we understand everyone is going through probably the most intense time of your lives for a lot of different reasons. And as you know from our social media, we are here for you to talk about whatever is going on. But we hope during this episode you can just take a minute to laugh and chuckle and relive the Hills memories from a long time ago. But don't forget to hit us up on social media to talk about what's going on in the world. We love you.
All right, let's talk about the episode today.
Let's get into it.
It starts off right in the intro where we find out that Brody and Lauren are hanging out and Spencer is not happy.
He's lost his boy.
He is so jealous of Lauren. It's crazy. So the episode starts out at the Hillside Villas. Lauren and Audrina are discussing the big barbecue that happened the night before where Justin Bobby left her with the motorcycle helmet.
And please note, Audrina mentions she was so upset she left the helmet at the party. It could be in a museum right now, Susan.
Do you think she ever gets her helmet back?
We got to keep watching to find out. I'm sure they'll fill us in. They always let us know the details down the road. JK.
So it hasn't taken long for Audrina to start questioning and justifying what Justin did. And she's like, oh, I'm sure, he didn't really mean it. And Lauren is like, oh my gosh, already kind of rolling her eyes like this is his pattern. He is going to keep doing this. And she's trying to talk her down from it.
I love how they're drinking water out of plastic bottles. It looked so out of place in that scene because you would never see that in a TV show now.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. Audrina says she's really surprised that Spidey didn't pop into the barbecue, but I suppose she doesn't know that they were in Crested Butte.
The big old butte.
And then Lauren smirks and says, my, how the tables have turned. No one does shade like our girl Lauren.
Mm-mm.
So next we head for Bolt House. The girls are busy reading magazines at work. I suppose that's part of their job, though. And guess who we see?
Elodie!
And Brent!
Heck yeah. Actually, do we see Elodie in this scene?
No, I was going to say, I don't think we see Elodie, but I was excited to see Brent. But I know you always hope Elodie shows up at Bolt House.
Okay, so when they showed Brent, I was agog at his hair. I was just imagining all of the 2007 pomade products he must have used that morning when he was leaving the house. Like, he had every strand of hair popped out of the side of his head, and it was a sight to behold. And he wanted to gossip about Heidi's friends.
I know, he was such a gossip.
That was so uncool. I would be so embarrassed if my boss wanted to gossip about my friends. Like, I'd be like, old man, why do you care about my people?
He's like, are Lauren and Brody dating again? Because I saw them together this weekend. And the look on Heidi's face was like, what? Brent knows that they don't talk anymore.
He's like, are they going back out? Are they going together? Are they talking and passing notes in class?
Are they going steady?
What's the tea, sis?
And Heidi's like, no, they totally hate each other. They're definitely not going out anymore. But you can tell she's like totally panicking. Like, are they together?
I kind of wanted to see more about this event they're planning. They were talking about David Beckham and all the like British football clubs and stuff. And I sort of want to see this event, but I'm assuming by the next couple of episodes that we're not going to see this event.
Probably they didn't get access to it or something, or nothing interesting happened, nothing dramatic happened. It did look like a fun event, but you can just tell from Heidi's face, she's just panicking about everything. She's not even thinking about the event. And then we head to Epic Records, and Chiara and Audrina are having a nice little gossip sesh.
My favorite part of this scene is when Audrina's like, I've never cried over a guy in my life. Untrue. I will never believe this statement from her.
There is no way that's true. I'm calling BS on that, Audrina. It was funny how they started talking about Chiara's stuff and it was like kind of trailed off. And they're like, okay, let's get to the good stuff, which is talking about Justin Bobby.
So I rewatched the episode today and I got really distracted from the dialogue because I was just staring at their overplucked, overwaxed eyebrows. And all I could think of was like, hang on, girls, fluffy brows are on the way. You just got to hold on a little bit longer. We're almost there.
It was funny that Audrina says she called Justin and yelled at him. Do you think that really happened?
She has never yelled at anyone ever.
No, I'm afraid she hasn't. But they talked about what a roller coaster it had been, her being with Justin, and Chiara says, but roller coasters are so fun, and they both giggle. And Jem, as you know, to me, roller coasters are not fun.
JB, I'll go on a roller coaster with you even to this day.
He's your ride or die.
Yeah, forever and ever. And I have more to say about that later on this episode, Susan.
Oh, I'm sure you will, Jem. Next, we go to Spidey's apartment, and Spencer so genuinely says, there's the most beautiful businesswoman in town. Doesn't it sound so insincere sometimes when he gives compliments? Like, it's painful for him to do it, and it sounds so insincere.
I just cringe into a tiny, tiny ball and roll away out of the room. Spencer was talking about Lauren and Brody being together, and he said, that's like hell freezing over for me. Those two together. That's all the emotion that Spencer could muster in the moment. It was so sincere.
How many cliches can Spencer drop in like a 5-minute window?
Susan, can we do a quick sidebar?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about Spencer of 2007, and let's talk about Spencer of today.
Is this going to be you defending Spencer again?
Absolutely not. What if any of his statements that he makes on TV are genuine from the heart statements?
And Jim, I'm not sure because I actually don't watch that much modern day stuff with him. So I really haven't seen anything that he's done. I know like you follow him on social media and stuff, and I don't. So I really haven't seen that much stuff that they're doing now, unless it's stuff you send me. But what I would guess is that, let's see what this was. Quite a few years ago. It's over a decade since this show came out for the first time. And that's a long time to be in the spotlight. And when you're on a reality show, you're still an actor, but you're playing yourself. So at what point do those lines get blurred, or you just snap to it when you're in front of a camera or something and you become that persona? Because I think we all know Spencer's probably not like this in real life. He's just putting on like a persona for the TV cameras. But I also think he might not be a great actor, and that's why it comes across as insincere, because he's not really being himself. That would be my best guess.
I think you've cracked the code. I think that he is not a SAG-worthy actor. And that's where he fails in these Hills scenes, is that if he would only just, sit back. Like if he could have been doing like hummingbird content like he did on Snapchat a couple of years ago, or doing like the crystal unboxing type stuff, it would have been way more genuine and enjoyable.
So I would love to hear what our listeners think about this. So definitely shoot us an email and let us know, Words Unspoken podcast @gmail.com, and let us know what you think about this.
And I'll throw some polls on social media too. We'll get this going and see what the people have to say.
Spencer says, good for them. They need each other. And the sarcasm is dripping from his tongue. But, it's funny because Heidi is still like really bothered by it. Like she just doesn't like the idea. She just seems more bothered by it than even Spencer is.
Oh, totally. She's miserable, and her misery just grows as the episode goes on.
But the thing about it is, I think, Heidi is very attached to Lauren. Even though they're not friends anymore, she has that emotional attachment. Whereas Spencer doesn't seem to have as much emotional attachment toward it. Obviously, it's his fault everything fell apart. And even though he and Brody, of course, had been friends for years and years, he just doesn't have that emotional attachment. Like you can tell, like it bothers Heidi. Well, Spencer just seems to kind of enjoy the fact that they've all split up. Like he kind of enjoys the drama, where I think it really bothers Heidi, or that's the impression I get.
Spencer's only attachment in those days was being the next story on Us Weekly or whatever the the paparazzi mag du jour was at that time.
So then we head to Les Deux, one of our favorite settings.
That scene, may I remark, started with a zoom in on a guy named Ryan, who was Lauren's friend. He literally had a large adult golden doodle living on his head and bobbing to the music.
I have Ryan, big, bushy, blonde afro, ?
And he was probably considered like such a cute boy that got noticed wherever he went because of his fun hair.
Oh, absolutely. And he's like bobbing his head to the music and just enjoying himself. Lauren seems like she's had a few cocktails, Jem. What do you think?
I mean, they're always like so drunk in those Ledoux scenes. And for some reason, I didn't notice that when I was younger and watching this part of the show. I was always like, oh, Ledoux, how fun. And now when I'm older and watching, I'm like, they were always so wasty-faced there and the drama seemed so crazy. But now looking back, it was just dramatic because they were all like drunk and were just blurting things out.
Well, that's the thing. All their filters were gone because they had been drinking, and it's just kind of funny. But Lauren kind of goes into this drunken rant about the sinks in the bathroom and two girls are making out. And Jem, is this slightly homophobic?
There's nothing slightly about it, Susan.
Have you ever listened to the Gilmore Guys podcast?
No.
Well, they have a segment in there like, is this homophobic? And that's what it reminded me of when I was watching. I'm like, oh, this reminds me of that. Yeah, that was a little cringeworthy. You can tell when something is very old because that would never probably make it in a show now. So then Brody shows up to Les Deux. And Frankie's with him, and I always love seeing Frankie. He's always so happy, and I enjoy seeing him so much.
Hi, Frankie.
Lauren applies her lip gloss as soon as she sees Brody. I guess she's getting her lips ready, thinking she's going to get a kiss or two. I don't know.
Oh, hey, Brody.
So Brody talks about wanting to go to the Roosevelt pool, and Lauren coyly says, I'm there every Sunday, and Brody is like hardcore flirting with her. I know we've talked about it before, the Hill special, where they really reveal, like, Lauren and Brody never dated. And then episodes like this make me side-eye them because I'm like, then you're straight up lying about a lot of things. But whatever. Lauren's trying to go to Brody's condo.
She's like, you know what would be better? Your condo.
What a flirt. But Lauren says she doesn't want to go if Spencer is going to be there. And Brody immediately disses Spencer and is like, what? Are you kidding me? Let me just tell you. He doesn't go anywhere. He stays home all the time. He just stays home all night. And Lauren's eyes have this gleam. She is also enjoying this split between Spencer and Brody. You can tell she's just 100% enjoying it. But I will say she has more of a reason to enjoy it than Spencer has reason to enjoy what he did to her and Heidi. Because what Spencer did to her, no matter what anyone says, we all know that Spencer is the one who started that rumor. And that is like such a bad thing to do.
And she has to this day never received an apology or an acknowledgement from him.
No, I don't even know. Has he ever acknowledged that he was the one who did it? I think he might have. Maybe, but I don't know. I'm not sure. Fact check us, fans, on that one. But I totally understand where she's coming from because, you know, he really did her wrong. He didn't just like break her and her best friend up. He also started like a really vicious rumor that was on tabloids and got a lot of attention. Her parents saw it, which she talked a lot about in that special. So it's so funny how they dance around it on the show, but we have our full knowledge now of everything. And it's just so much more interesting watching it now than even when it was on at the time.
We know what he did.
We definitely know. You know what you did. You know what you did.
You know what you did.
So Brody smirks and says, let's go. And they leave the club and the scene ends and we never see what happens. How did they manage to escape the MTV cameras, Jem?
I don't know. Do you know some inside information?
No, I wish I did. I'm truly asking. But I guess for some reason, I don't know. They didn't. Probably because nothing happened.
Did Ryan ever cut off his hair?
Good question.
That's one secret I'll never tell.
So then we head to Teen Vogue, and they're doing another mundane task, Jem.
Ugh.
This gives credence to me to the fan theory that they really didn't work there, even though they say they really did. When they do things like this, it just looks like such busy work.
Did you notice how huge Elsie's Mac screen was?
Yes! Technology alert! Technology alert!
It looked like an old tube television set that like nobody who's alive now even remembers. It was massive.
It really was. It did make me laugh out loud for real. So Whitney wants to chat about what happened at Les Deux last night. And Lauren says that Spencer is ignoring Brody's phone calls. He's not answering. Whitney says it's a momentary tiff that Brody and Spencer are having. And then they go into this boring conversation about Lauren's name was supposed to be Tiffany or Crystal. And I'm like, oh, Jim, it was so boring. I don't even want to talk about it. So let's move on to the Hillside Villas. The girls are getting ready to go out. Audrina very sheepishly reveals that she is going to dinner with Justin. That didn't last long, Jim. I guess she's not really angry at him anymore.
Susan, don't you love getting ready scenes in the hills? They're like time capsules.
Yes, I love it so much because it makes me remember when we were young and we would get ready to do things like at 10 o'clock at night.
I know those were like our peak going out years too. So all the outfits match up. Like Lo had this shiny strapless top and I was like, I had that same shirt in a different color. And Audrina was showing off all her different outfits, and Elsie was getting ready to blow dry her hair. And I'm like, yes, I also used to blow dry my hair at like 9 o'clock at night to go out at 10 o'clock. And, you know, it was just really nostalgic.
It's so nostalgic. And you just remember that feeling when you're about to go out and have a fun night. It's such a great feeling. The only other time I feel like that these days is when I go to the beach and you stay out all day in the sun and then you go in and get ready for dinner. And I still get that same excited feeling, even if you're just going to dinner, you know, it's just,
yeah.
But that's the only time I feel like that anymore. Of course, Jim, I haven't been to the beach in a while.
Susan, where have we been in a while? Let's be honest.
Lo is, of course, being her usual judgy self about Justin Bobby. She can't help the snark.
She's a judgy judge up on her bench looking down at her people.
Audrina says she actually hasn't seen Justin since the barbecue.
But she has talked to him and she won't answer how many times or how often she's talked to him. She's doing like a little shady runaround.
And she says that Justin wants to take things slow. I mean, did you not roll your eyes so much at that? What do you mean? How much slower can you go? And then Lo says, you know, how long haven't you been dating off and on for a while? And it's been 2 years, Jim. 2 years that they've been dating off and on. That's crazy. Take things slow. I want to be best friends first. It's been 2 years. Come on.
Well, Susan, here's my take. Justin Bobby has probably told more of the truth than any guy has ever told Audrina. He's put it all out there and told her how it's going to be. Her friends are trying to make more of it, and there's more of that conversation later, you know, when they go out to the restaurant. I were Audrina at that age, I would be enjoying the relationship as it is defined with Justin Bobby. The friends are just trying to make it like into something more like, oh, you need to define the relationship. He has defined it. You cannot accuse him of not defining the relationship.
No, I'm not criticizing Justin as much as I'm criticizing Audrina because I don't think that is what she wants from him. She wants more. I don't think it's her friend's influence. I think she wants more and he's not willing to give it. So at some point you have to say either I accept him as he is or I go and find someone else. But I also know that when you're that age, it's not that easy to do it. Now that we're old, then we see the wisdom in it. But, you know, when you're in your 20s, you stay with the bad guy who's not good for you. It's just how it is.
Correct.
And then Justin honks outside.
In the white Chevelle, because of course that's what he's driving when he's not on his motorcycle.
You're not going to be happy about this that I wrote in my notes, Jim. It says, JB rudely honks outside. You aren't that cute, JB.
JB pulls up in a white El Camino looking ridiculously hot, picking up Audrina. I was wishing I was Audrina. JB, you're so hot. Come here in your El Camino and pick me up. I am ready.
I won't tell your husband you said that.
Oh, he knows. He was sitting there with me rewatching it this morning, and I yelled out, oh my gosh, he is so hot.
Good thing we're married to men who are confident in their own masculinity, Jim.
And, you know, like Justin, Bobby, and I are good friends. Like, I could call him right now.
Wasn't their hellos very awkward though?
Oh yeah, they would like sort of hugged and sort of kissed, and there was like an arm shrug slash hug kind of thing, and I was like, ooh, ooh. But it was probably just because they were on TV.
The only thing that would have been more awkward would have been if he had gone upstairs and seen Lo.
My other theory about the awkward greeting is that he borrowed somebody's car and he's not used to picking up girls in a car. Usually it's on a motorcycle and you just sit there and the girl hops on behind you and that's his normal greeting and he doesn't know how to say hello to a girl in a car.
So then we head to Toy to enjoy a lovely dinner together. A beautiful romantic evening. It's going to be so great. No. Justin Bobby is already mad at her because she already ate earlier and she's not hungry and he's irritated with her. Probably like she doesn't feel like eating because her stomach is like churning and she's like nervous and upset about it. That would be my guess.
100%. I'm just going to go ahead and state right now, didn't pay attention to what he said. He's so hot in this scene. I don't know what he said. He's gorgeous. My literal heart rate increased. The lighting in this restaurant was perfect for him. And you're going to have to tell me what happened.
Well, Jem, because you were too busy staring at Justin Bobby's face, you didn't hear the words coming out of his mouth, which were not nice. He's like bashing her friends. He says, we just need to take it slow and be cool. And he's using all these phrases that guys like that use to try to be like, I'm so chill and calm, but he really just doesn't want to commit. And in my notes, I say, ugh, run, Audrina. But Justin Bobby doesn't like statements. Like boyfriend and girlfriend. He's like, if you have statements, I'll be gone. So you're right. He is being super open about his feelings. He's defining the relationship, but it's like really terrible. He's a real winner, Jem, but all you can look at is his pretty face. But she makes the mistake of saying like that Lauren and Lo have said this to her about like defining the relationship, and he does not like that. You don't say that to someone anyway, because then you're just like, I've been gossiping about you to my girlfriends. He gets really mad and he says, well, I hate that Lauren and your other friends are in your ear all the time. I don't care about it. But to me, this is the problem. He's like bashing her friends and everything. And he's like, I don't care. But to me, the problem is that Audrina does care. Like she clearly cares and it makes her upset. And the fact that he's not taking her feelings into account irritates me. Like her face is really sad and you can tell she's just really wounded by what he has to say. And Justin's just trying to blame society for his commitment issues. He's just that classic guy. You know, I've had guys do that to me before when I was her age. And so it probably triggers me a little more than it might you.
Yeah. And guys like him, like they want the girls to be like sad and needy and like want to be with them. But, you know, be holding the girls at arm's length and giving them excuses. Like he's getting a power trip out of that.
Oh, 100%. I agree. And I'm sure, you know, from our time talking to him, he was a really nice guy and he was really funny, but also like you can tell he's the type of guy who probably should never commit to a woman because it won't work out.
Absolutely not. Like he's never going to settle down. He's just a wild boy.
So that dinner just doesn't go well. So then we're in a car with Brody, which is where I would like to be. Back then, not now, to be clear.
No, nobody wants to be in a car with Brody Jenner right now.
So Brody and Spencer are arguing on the phone. Brody's so funny because he's like kind of chilling and like he doesn't want any drama. And Spencer doesn't want him to have anything to do with his enemy. And it's so funny. You can see like the difference between them because Spencer's so dramatic and Brody's kind of like, I just want to chill. I just want everybody to get along. And you're being like a baby. And Spencer's using words like enemy. And it's just so funny. Brody's like, I feel like I'm back in high school and it's just so rational and reasonable. I really love it. Although I know Brody probably secretly enjoys the drama. I like when he like calls Spencer out on his BS. I enjoy that. Spencer ends up hanging up on him.
You're rolling around with my enemy, so that makes you my enemy.
And then Brody hangs up and says like, what a bitch. And it did make me giggle, even though I don't approve of that word. But Jem, technology alert. Did you see Did you see the old ad for the old iPod?
I did, on the Hollywood Boulevard billboard.
It made me so sad because I was like, the iPod. I remember my first iPod, which was one of those tiny little slender ones. You remember those skinny ones? What was it called? It was like white.
Oh, the Nano.
Yeah, I think so. Except no, actually, I think I had a green Nano, like a electric green. But my first one was that really slim white one, but you could get stuff engraved on the side. Remember that? I miss the old iPod. It was such a huge thing too, because it was like a miracle. Because before that, you had darn CDs. So the iPod was like, can you imagine back then knowing one day like all this stuff would be streaming on our phones? It's just crazy how quick technology has advanced.
Also, Brody was using an iPhone on that car call. And I think we may have had a technology alert about an iPhone a couple of episodes ago, but I'm not 100% sure. But this is one of the first iPhone appearances in a Hills episode. So let's mark that on the calendar.
Definitely. We've seen them use Blackberries and, of course, the sidekicks most of all. But yeah, we're getting into the iPhone territory.
Loving it.
So then we head to Hotel Roosevelt. And, Jem, this looks like such a perfect Sunday.
Can I tell you that the Roosevelt Hotel and the hotel pool, that is the last fun thing I did before coronavirus. I was on a business trip in LA, and that is where literally I spent the last week before Corona hit the United States. I was staying at the hotel and at that pool, and I was so nostalgic. Obviously, it looks exactly the same, like nothing ever changes there. And so that was really cool to watch, but also sad because I was like, I need real life, but you know.
Yeah, I do remember that because I remember you were going to California and the coronavirus was already on my radar. And so I was like really nervous. I was like, I hope she doesn't get stuck over there because it really wasn't here yet, but it was already on my radar because, you know, anxiety and all that.
I know. I walked off the plane and everybody's phones blew up because Kobe Bryant's helicopter had literally just crashed like 20 minutes before my plane landed. Then I was in the Roosevelt Hotel, which was overlooking the scaffolding for the Grammys that were coming up that weekend. And my Roosevelt Hotel window overlooked the Grammy stage, and a guy climbed up and had a standoff with police overnight. He wouldn't come down from the scaffolding. He was threatening all kinds of crazy stuff. And so I had to stay up all night because the cops were like bargaining with him to come down. And then I had all these fun times at the Roosevelt pool and all this great stuff. And then the first case of Corona was, announced in California while I was there. So I should have known that something really, really bad was about to go down in the United States of America.
You should have known that 2020 would be the lost year. Anyway, so let's head back to years ago before any of this was going on. And everybody's checking out all the dudes and admiring them. But, Jem, there are so many tools at the Hotel Roosevelt.
It's a tool convention. Was it like, I don't know, was Home Depot having their like yearly gathering or something? Because all I saw were tools and tool sheds and toolboxes and tool belts.
But Lauren says she likes a little meat on her men. She doesn't like to see ribs, which is kind of funny because I feel like her husband is like more slender than those hunky, men that she was talking about that she likes. So I kind of enjoy that.
One word, Jason. Because she was still obsessed with Jason at the time.
This is so true.
Did you like her come back to those people that were obsessed with that one guy who I could see the ribs on? She's like, homeboy's not cute. I don't know what you're all on.
She's so funny. They talk about date with Justin. She says we're not going to do any labels. And Audrina says she's going to give it a rest for a while. And we all side eye her and say, no, you're not, Audrina. Then Brody and Frankie roll up. Brody calls Lauren his lady, and she's kind of like, whatever. And we're like, no.
So did you notice something about Brody? I realized he dresses the exact same in 2020 that he did in whatever 2007, whatever year this was.
Yes, I actually have noticed that. He has not changed much, that's for sure. So this is when we find out that Lauren spent the night at Brody's condo, and Frankie is joking about it, and everyone's teasing them about it. And Lauren very primly says, I was drunk, so I stayed over. And Brody's like, whatever. But then he's like, yeah, it was just a friendly sleepover, because I guess he realizes she's being like coy about it, so he doesn't want to call her out.
Now knowing what we know, looking back, it probably was just a sleepover because she'd been drinking, because that's what she says in the scene. And I'm like, she probably did just stay because she'd been drinking and didn't want to drive home, and like there was nothing that happened between them.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. And it makes more sense because Brody's like, oh no, whatever. And then when he realizes she's like, no, it was just a friendly sleepover, he's like, okay, I better say the truth then. She doesn't want to like say that it was more than it was. So yeah, I 100% believe nothing happened. That's for sure.
Another Brody realization I had in this Roosevelt pool scene was that Brody really cares about his bros. He's way more obsessed with them than he is about any girl.
I really enjoy Brody. I think he's a genuinely nice person. That's what I think about every time he's on the hills. I'm like, he actually seems, I know he's still playing a part in everything, but he seems to care about people more than like other people do on the show. He just seems like a genuinely nice guy. That's what I think. It was funny when he said, Spencer broke up with me, and he pretended to cry. It was funny.
I agree. I think he has the misfortune of being born into literally like the worst family that anyone could be born into in the universe. And I hate that for him.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sure he's had lots of trauma over his lifetime. Brody says that the only thing Spencer needs is Heidi, and Brody is over it. He doesn't want to be in a relationship with this guy who doesn't really want to be friends with him. And Brody jokes about being on the rebound, and it's really funny. I just enjoyed that. He's using humor to cover up, like, I feel he was really hurting, that one of his really, really best friends, they even live together and stuff, that they've kind of gone to the wayside just because Spencer is a child who can't deal with the fact that he's hanging out with his enemy. And yes, I'm using air quotes. So then we go back to Spidey, and we see that they're having a super awesome, superb Sunday folding laundry.
They're basically like a couple of 62 years old, and it's such a contrast with the pool scene.
They're way too young to be acting like this. This irritated me so much. Just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you can't go do stuff. Come on, get off the couch and go do something. I think Spencer's just like lazy, don't you?
Yes, he's always on a computer staring at YouTube or whatever people looked at back then before YouTube was invented. I don't know. And playing video games, and he's just very boring and lazy.
He says he's working, and Heidi gives him a look like, you don't have a job. I don't know if he has a job at this point or not, but I really don't think he does. I think he was making all the money off of like tabloids and stuff. But he said, I'm mentally there for you, but I'm not going to help you fold the towels. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so annoying. Anyway, Heidi drops the news that she's having breakfast with Jen Bunney. Apparently they've pulled apart, and she wants to hang out with her apart from Lauren. And Heidi then tries to set up a date with Spencer, and he's really ambivalent about it, and she looks really sad, and it makes me really sad for her. But Spencer is kind of, I don't know why you're having lunch with Jen. He seems super suspicious about it.
He's really doing the thing where he doesn't want her to hang out with anyone or go anywhere, which is reason number 496 that we thought they would never make it, you know?
Yeah, if we had put bets on it, we would have both lost. So then we head to Doughboys for Jen Bunney and Heidi's big breakfast. And as Heidi's walking there, doesn't she look like she's like marching into battle?
I just saw her doing her same old wiggle that we've been mocking the entire life of this podcast. Like, she's trying to do like a sexy walk, but she's just like so skinny, and like her outfit is not cute. And I'm saying this as a fellow so skinny person that knows that you can't do like an ass wiggle when you have no cake.
And did you notice that she's so clearly showing off like the giant ring? It's like very prominent in the scene.
Holding her cup. But I do have to give you a disclaimer. Just as I didn't pay attention to what Justin Bobby said to Audrina, in the bar scene. I didn't hear a lot of what Jen, Bunney, and Heidi said in this scene because I was obsessed with the pancakes and syrup and coffee because that looked like the yummiest meal, and it was really hard to pay attention to what they were saying because I wanted to be at this restaurant eating and drinking the brunch.
It's because you miss restaurants.
I know, I do so much.
Jenna's being a little snarky, though. She's like, oh, you aren't going out anymore? Oh, my God. And being, like, kind of judgmental about it. And she pretends to be shocked that Spencer and Brody aren't friends anymore when you can tell, like, she's been gossiping about it with other people. And Heidi claims that Brody was saying things about Lauren and that Brody was the one who spread the rumors. And you can tell she's just trying to tell Jen that, so Jen will tell other people that. But we all know it was Spencer. Heidi, stop trying to cover for him.
Nice try.
Yeah, Jen's like, oh, but you don't know that. And Heidi's kind of irritated. She said, I do know that, and it wasn't me. Methinks she doth protest too much, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
She claims she heard him say stuff. And then she plays with her hair, Jem, which is such a tell for her. That's like her I am not telling the truth tell is when Heidi plays with her hair.
Heidi, your insecurity just like bubbles out of you.
They talk about how sad it is they're not friends anymore because, of course, Jen is no longer friends with Lauren. I don't remember now why they fought. Do you?
I was just about to ask you, why did Jen Bunney break up with LC?
Well, Lauren broke up with Jen Bunney, and I can't remember what it was now, but it was something annoying. So we'll have to go back and refresh ourselves on that. But they just kind of talk about how sad it is that they're not friends. And apparently Lauren said to Jen, I'll be there for you whenever you need me. Just call me, but we're not friends anymore. And I was like, that's just so weird.
That's how it works.
And then she dramatically asked, Heidi, do you think that you'll ever be friends with Lauren again? And there's a long, awkward silence. And then she says, I don't really care. And in my head, I'm like, yes, you do.
And then Jen Bunney.
And then Jen Bunney says, yes, you do. Well, dramatic music plays. And then Heidi walks off, and then we get a quick little montage of what everyone else is doing at the end of this episode, and it ends.
Lonely Heidi wiggles away while popular LC at the pool is surrounded by her sycophants. What a contrast, Susan.
Does this episode of The Hills pass the Bechdel test?
Susan, does this episode of The Hills pass the Bechdel test?
Well, let's see. Let's go through the steps.
So the Bechdel test is usually applied to movies, but we like to apply it to each episode of the Hills podcast. First of all, are there two named female characters in this episode?
Yes.
Do they talk to each other?
Absolutely.
And do they talk to each other about anything else besides a man?
Yes, but just barely.
Just squeaking through to pass the Bechdel test. So I'm assuming you're thinking about the same scene I am, and that's Jen Bunney and Heidi at brunch, right?
Yes, that's correct. But it's still kind of related to men because they're fighting because of Spencer. But hey, they're not actually talking about a man. They are talking about their relationship and their friendship. So it just barely squeaked past and did pass the Bechdel test.
We will take it in these times.
Winners of the week. Okay, Jem, who was your winner of the week?
Pancakes and syrup, coffee, alfresco gossip with Heidi, and showing off her tacky new purse. Jen Bunney's the clear winner because she got paid to show up and do these things. And how easy is that?
Jem, my winner of the week is Lauren because she had a wonderful Saturday partying and enjoying herself. And then on Sunday, she got to relax at the pool and watch hot guys. She just seemed to be living her best life. She actually seemed really happy in this episode in spite of the drama that was swirling around. It wasn't like directly on her, and she kind of got a chance to enjoy seeing Spencer and Brody break up. So I will have to say she was the winner of the week for this episode.
Jem and Susan's funniest moments.
Okay, Jem, what was your funniest moment of the episode?
You have to admit it was kind of funny when Justin Bobby squealed up to the Hillside Villas in his ridiculous vintage.
Whatever that car was.
Whatever that car was.
It was funny.
El Camino. But you know what? I think that they added the honking sounds into the show, because when I rewatched it this morning, you really can't see him honking, and I'm suspicious about the honking. I don't think he honked.
That would be so shady, but you're probably right, because he probably texted her and said, I'm here.
Right. Like, why would you honk in front of a giant building of apartments? And it just didn't match up, and I became very suspicious when I watched that scene this morning. So I think that was a funny moment, especially if they made it more like Justin Bobby-ish with the fake honking.
You were so right about that. I agree with you. I bet they did. That's so funny. Well, my funniest moment was Jen Bunney just like being all snide and thinking she just wanted to get back on the show. So she was trying to do whatever she could to make sure she made that show. She didn't want to get cut or get left on the cutting room floor. So I enjoyed her snarkiness at Heidi. So that was the funniest moment to me.
There are some people in LA that are. There are some people in LA that are. There are some people in LA that are.
Okay, Jem, what was your pratfall of the week?
Clearly, the biggest pratfall was Spencer giving Heidi emotional support while she was folding the towels.
Jem, I have the exact same pratfall of the week, and that's really because there wasn't that much more. Although I suppose we could use when he hung up on Brody as a pratfall as well. But I also had Spencer not helping with the laundry and offering emotional support.
I mean, there's always an embarrassment of pratfall riches for us every episode. Let's be honest.
Thanks for joining us for Words Unspoken, the Hills podcast. Here's the scoop on all the ways you have to get in touch with us.
You can email us at wordsunspokenpodcast@gmail.com.
You can visit our website at wordsunspokenpodcast.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Words Unspoken Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at The Hills Podcast, or follow us on Twitter at The Hills Podcast.
We'll see you there.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
You and all your pretty little friends up in the hills where the party never ends. Your schemes and your dreams when you're whole and you're broken. I'm telling all about it in my words unspoken.
Oh my gosh, this is so fun. I'm so excited that we're back.
I'm very weak with hunger.